Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. Another week has flown by. It's somewhat hard to believe, but whenever I sit down to record an episode and a week has gone by since I've sat down to record an episode, I can't help but think of how much time has passed since then. And you know how time is like the form of I don't even know how you would describe time. A force, in a field, an energy, but whatever it is, it's a force of advancement, and you feel it every week. Time passes by. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't think even our best scientists could describe time. But I think that it's just the best way that we can define it is people getting older. And that is how we are able to manage and describe what time is. Just for, researchful purposes, I'm going to look up what time is. So, Google says that time is a dimension. Time is a continued sequence of existence and events that occurs in an apparently irreversible succession from the past through the present and into the future. It is a component quantity of various measurements used to sequence events, to compare the duration of events or the intervals between them, and to quantify rates of change of quantities in material reality or in the conscious experience. Time is also often referred to as a fourth dimension, along with three spatial dimensions, which is bizarre, because time had to have had a beginning. There had to have been a sequence in the known universe, in the known galaxy, in our known reality, when it must have began. Like how you start a race, boom, the gun goes off, the race has started. What was the point where time has begun? It's an interesting question that I don't think anybody on this planet knows. I think a lot of scientists like to pretend, or maybe not pretend, but think they know, because of, their extensive research and their studies, hypotheses, scientific theories of how it might have started or when it might have started. But I don't think that we truly know when time actually began. You've heard the theory of the Big Bang, right? There's nothing in the known universe, and an explosion happens and it creates galaxies, planets, stars, yada, 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 right? Dust that over time, turns into galaxies, turns into planets, turns into stars. Therefore, we get us, humanity, life on Earth, rotating around a sun. When you think about it like that, how much time has passed, it really kind of messes with your mind. And me as a non-scientific person, me as a consumer of entertainment, really got a heavy dose of time dilation, time acceleration, time manipulation from the movie Interstellar, when that movie came out, I had really no idea about like physics and like how time would work, and like what if we were able to travel this far to another planet, and to how it would be if somebody was on that planet, because the film it kind of explains, and you experience like the characters on a planet in the distant space. Like 1 hour on that planet was like 20 years on Earth that had passed by. And in the movie, our characters are like, what? We were there for that long? How did it was like almost unbelievable, unfathomable. You couldn't really process something like that because it just doesn't make any sense. And that is true. Like, something like that explained to you, even in a movie where it's merely entertainment, but it has a lot of scientific facts behind it, and it isn't like complete fantasy, but there is some truth to that in the plot of that movie. You almost can't fathom it. I don't even care who you are. Like, if you're like the most scientific guy in the world and you're very rational, you're very understanding, you are very open-minded to the possibilities of change and different ways of thought, different theories, other explanations, sometimes no explanations. I don't think anybody is really capable of that type of knowledge and that type of truth brought to them in relation to what is time. How does it even work? So it must work. I mean, it must be like a force or something, right? When we're born, we begin to age. Why? What is it about time that makes us age? Is it just the human body is designed to grow in that way because of gaining of nutrients, gaining of what? That's it? Time just passes by, you get bigger, and that's all. Something must happen, right? There must be some other force at work. Is it also gravity weighing us down? That one's hard to explain too. Yeah, gravity, you drop an apple, it falls, right? It falls and it rolls down there, like some kind of like, old school theory with like Isaac Newton, right? About gravity and how that works, and how, forces of, pushing things down, and we can't just jump forever, jump and then float. I mean, that's just not how it works on Earth, right? So it's like all of these theories that are like, have such big questions and even bigger answers. I don't even think that we're even capable of understanding at the moment, because what we have to figure out these questions, right? Like the tools that we use to figure these out, which is what? Mathematics, biology, chemistry, physics, right? The ones that we know, those are subjects to us in school that we are taught. But in reality, those subjects become tools after school. You use equations and functions and, all that stuff to figure out day-to-day problems in the real world. Like, engineering, architecture, rocket science, marine life, biology, being a doctor, being a chemist, making, make me a spray that does this, or make me some kind of medicine that provides this, or figure out how this bridge is going to work and not, crumble under too much pressure. We got to make sure that this bridge is functioning, one, for a long time, Two, under immense weight and pressure from, I don't know, cars, buses. Cars and buses got to get to the other side of the river. We need a bridge that will be able to sustain all that for essentially decades to come. It needs to work. And I think that the tools that we have right now are perfectly suitable for what we work with in our day-to-day lives right now. Aerodynamics, aerospace, rockets, and all that. It's perfect for like getting off the planet, right? We have created the rocket to get off of the planet, to get into orbit. It might be like the most conventional, even though it is pretty costly, pollution also. Having a rocket that propels into the sky via jet propulsion, rocket propulsion, at the moment for us is very conventional, makes sense, and we pretty much know that science, like the back of our hand. We got it down pretty well. It's just like the amount of resources and money that it costs to do that. But we have it pretty nailed down, right? But what about after that? What about after initial takeoff? Well, we have broken out of the planet's atmosphere, and we are in orbit, and now we're floating. What then? We clearly don't have the propulsion system down on how to continue past our planet at a rapid speed that we see in movies and TV. Because one, the rocket fuel just burns out. We're pretty much out. And then we just have like these little thrusters that just kind of push. I don't even know what they push, but they push, I guess, air. But there's no air in space, so I don't even know what they would use. I don't know. Something like that. And then you just kind of push in the direction and kind of course correct as you go to direct you to where you want to go, right? You know how they do that? They send like the Mars rover to Mars. Like they pretty much know exactly where to launch the rocket, where to be in orbit, and then where to start its course to make it to Mars. Because there is no wind in space to push you adrift, I think it's just be like a straight shot there and boom, you're in Mars. Maybe there's space drift. Maybe there's space, turbulence. I don't know. I'm not an astronaut, but I would assume that there's something similar to that in space. That way they kind of have to adjust it on the way. Because it's not like it's a boat where you can point your sail in one direction, the wind catches it, and then it moves you in another, or in the opposite, or you manipulate the sail in a way to change course, right? Or you don't have like a big steering wheel on a rocket ship, right? You just have like a yoke I guess that'd be it, right? I don't know. I'm no pilot either. But again, like we have created instruments on our planet in a conventional way to suit us human beings for what we can see and touch, which is the physical world, right? An apple falls from the tree, we eat that apple. If we don't eat that apple, the apple is going to rot and then decompose and you can no longer eat that apple. Because why? Why does it rot? Why does it get old? Time, possibly. The life expectancy of an apple. Is an apple alive or is an apple dead? The tree is alive that produced the apple, correct? There's no other explanation of why a tree could produce an apple unless like the tree is like, I don't know, like technically not alive, then how would that even work? You know what I'm saying? I honestly don't like that. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy. I do think quite a bit. But after, just explaining that, how does a tree produce an apple? Like, you can plant a seed to grow a tree, right? And then that tree will grow an apple. Same like with a vine, right? You or like a plant, right? You plant a plant that grows, like a bush type of thing. And then that plant is not just any plant, it's a strawberry plant. And that plant not only produces leaves and vines and branches, but it also produces delicious fruit that we can consume. What goes in that process? For one, how did we figure that out in the first place? Was it just by luck? Humanity must have went through so many different variations of berries and died because they probably ate some that were poisonous, toxic, or non-edible in a trial by fire to get to the strawberry, which is completely edible, delicious, and good for you. It just must have just been trial and error. The entire human race is what it is. If you really break it down to what humanity has done with the planet and how we've got to where we are today, it's just trial and error. Seeing if this works, and if it does work, hooray. If it doesn't work, bad things must have happened. Somebody must have died. Others probably got killed, loss of job, whatever. It's crazy to think about. And I think that also, it brings me back to time, right? Time we can't see. Time is a problem that we all know is the number one problem in our very existence. I don't got enough time to do this. I don't got time to do that. I'm running out of time. I don't have enough time. Or you have too much time, But we can't see time. We can sort of see it when the sun comes up and when the sun comes down, or now it's bedtime, now it's time to get up. We can kind of see it, but we don't truly see the effects of time until it's too late. And then you're like, well, what do? I have no time. I ran out of time. I don't know. I just feel like that is a problem that we have always have, that we will continue to have until we are able to see until we are able to quantify and use quantum physics in a way that manipulates time, and we could, in a way which I don't think is even possible, go back in time, a la Back to the Future. It's just going to be the biggest problem that we've ever faced in our entire existence. Time is, how they say in sports, right? Father Time is undefeated. When athletes want to continue to play, or they're playing well, and then a couple years go by, the numbers dip. Their career becomes, for some athletes, a little like you're in a shell of where you were. Sometimes you become a little pathetic, just not as good as you used to be. And then you're like, damn, Father Time is really the champion of everything. Of all everything. I mean, if you think about it, man. If you truly think about it, time killed the dinosaurs. Now, there's theories about the meteor. There's theories about volcanoes. That's all I really know. And there's no real, there is hardcore evidence, but until we can pinpoint where the crater was, where the meteor impacted, that we could actually truly be and define with a magnifying glass, be yep, and put on your detective caps and say, yeah, this is a crater where the meteor that killed the dinosaurs, that made them go extinct, an entire planet of flourishing life, of beings that were gigantic and varied from different types, from long necks to T-Rexes, velociraptors, to the ones in the sea like Megalodon, Mosasaurus. The planet was full of life and was alive and living, probably more even lively than it is today in terms of life forms and different and variety of life on the planet. You got to think about it. Humans weren't alive then, so there was no. And we are the top of the food chain, and when it comes to who has caused the extinction of most species of animal on the planet, it's definitely us. We are the number one killer of species and the number one causing of endangered species on the planet right now, right? So if you go back then, we are not there. Probably. Maybe we are. Maybe we're not. But I'm going to say we're not, just for the sake of this example. We're not there at all to cause any havoc, to deforest, to build a road, to cause animals to migrate and potentially die. We're not there. So that planet is fully alive, truly fully alive, like never before in dinosaur times. And a meteor comes around and blows up the planet and essentially wipes everything out. And what did that, though? Meteor? Yeah, let's go with meteor. But ultimately, it was time. It took a lot of time for that meteor to travel and make its way to Earth. Collisions with other meteors, maybe asteroid belts, maybe, I don't know, stars exploding, planets blowing up in the process. That asteroid was on a journey almost of destiny, it seems like, if you really think about it. Like, it's like an asteroid of destiny that was just on its way with enough time, speed, and space to make it to Earth, to blow it up. And boom. And millions of years have passed, by the way, right? Millions of years. You think about, like, 10 years is kind of a long time. 20 years, 50 years is a long time to you. Millions of years have passed with peacefulness, pretty much peace on the planet. Nothing too gargantuan besides like natural things like earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, stuff like that. I mean, if you like look at like the history of the planet, right? And you see like how Earth has like, shifting climates and stuff, and way back then, millions of years ago, super storms, super tornadoes, super floods that like ravage like portions of the planet. None were as big as a meteor strike, but still very, very big. I mean, there's actually a couple, like I think a couple of volcanoes went off that actually kind of made the planet go into an ice age before the ice age that we're thinking of, with Manny and Diego. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much that happens on the planet that it corresponds within like thousands to millions of years, and it's just like, it almost seems like a blink of an eye of how much time that has passed. I mean, what is like Earth, like, maybe not Earth, but like the universe is like dated like what? 4.5 or 4.6 billion years old, right? And it gets like older every like couple years when we think like, it actually might have been older than that. And it's like, well, how do we even know that? Well, based on these photos from telescopes, like, there's just so much, like, you can't really, you honestly can't fathom it. You can't, like, your daily, like, I'm an average guy. You're probably an average guy, average gal, right? You don't really have any time to think about it that much unless you're being paid to do that. Or it's your passion, your job, whatever, right? It's really just like insane to think about, like time, how much time has passed, how much has gone by, and how much has changed, and how much is going to change in the future at the rate that we're at. I mean, what? The United States was founded or was declared independent on July 4th, 1776. That isn't even 300 years. That has not even been 300 years of us being a country, right? It has been such a small amount of time. Where you look at Europe, those guys have been countries for like what, 500, 600 years, even longer. But like, I mean, that whole continent of Europe has just been like shifting countries and territories for like thousands of years. Right? And it's like, you look at us and we're like the pretty much like one of the younger countries out there that is like already like looked upon as like the metropolis of the planet, right? We get it right. We got it right. And for many things we do, but it's like how the little time that has passed for us to get to where we are and what has come before us, the time between all that is honestly nothing. I mean, you look at now to ancient Egypt, right? 3000 BC, 2000 BC, around there. That's only like 3,000 years or 5,000 years. That's nothing compared to when you're looking at dinosaurs millions. Like, I mean, and that's what we've dated it, right? We have dated those millions of years ago. Why? Because of fossil discoveries and how we determine how old fossils are, trees, artifacts, all that stuff. We can like determine the age of all that stuff by, what we know about archaeology, paleontology, what have you. Big question. Time. Really big question. I think that if we figure out the equation to gravity and finally are able to use gravity to our benefits, meaning floating cars, planes that don't need jet propulsion, that use like warp gravity drives to move through time and space without any use of like propulsion, fuel, gas, anything to push us forward in a direction to move places. If we can like manipulate gravity and like do like what the UFOs can do, I mean, then I think that we have propelled our civilization to well beyond Earth at that point. Well beyond Earth, where we could probably go to Mars within a couple hours. Make a trip to Mars, go see what that bitch is like, Jupiter and all her gases, Saturn and her rings, Pluto, and then be like, yeah, Pluto's a planet. I'm looking at it right here. It's big enough to be a planet. Put it back. Neptune, and even beyond that, right? See why Mercury is so hot. What's up with those frozen ice caps on Mars? Were there people there, or what's the deal? There's a lot of mysteries, a lot of theories, and a lot of questions that are unanswered about Mars in particular. I'm not really like a one to be like believing that aliens come from Mars, but I do think that there is something a little fishy that we don't really know a whole lot about Mars. We do know that there was water on Mars, and when there's water, there's life. At least maybe not like us life, but like definitely like microscopic single cell bacteria type life, right? Itty bitty life, in the end of like War of the Worlds, when Morgan Freeman is narrating, spoilers, when humanity defeats the aliens, it wasn't because of their weapons or technology or how they fought them, humans themselves. No, they died because the aliens could not rid themselves of the bacteria, the pathogens that were all around Earth, that humanity for millennia has been adapting to all the pathogens that are in that surround us, that we see and smell and touch every single day. That you're not gonna get sick from just like totally get sick from just like shaking somebody's hand, right? And like rubbing your eye, right? I mean, like, we have developed such a keen immune system to everything, pretty much a lot of things on this planet, that if someone just came from another planet, had no exposure to human diseases and human sicknesses, it would make sense. They would probably die within like 2 days, right? And that's what happens in that movie. The aliens land, they try to colonize, and they get all sick and die within like a week. And it's like, because we have, adapted and progressed through time and immunity, we've evolved. in that way to combat these types of sicknesses. And that all leads me back to time and how time is a progression. What did it say? Just existing. Existence is time. And, crazy to think, but maybe it's just more simpler than we think, at least on face value, on the surface. When we get into why is time, that's when it gets tricky. That's when you're like, well, why does anything exist in the first place? Why do these three dimensions? Why is this thing a hard surface? Why is this one a soft surface? But in another environment, this soft surface is now a hard surface. Why is water a liquid, but also a gas, and then also a solid? In certain environments, in certain situations, it's a lot to process. It really is. And honestly, I think that I'm not the best person to describe all these things, but in a way, I do think that it was a ride of its own, trying to figure out what and how time could possibly exist, because it does exist. It's just a matter of why does it exist? Is it a simulation? Simulation theory is not really my favorite theory, I'll be honest, because it seems the most lazy. Imagine like God, right? Let's say God is the viewer of the simulation, and he's just looking at his little crystal ball, and he's he's a huge person, and he's overlooking the entire universe. He's just in a white room, right? You know that episode in SpongeBob where I think it's Squidward is going through a time machine, and he goes to prehistoric times and little amoeba times, and then all the way until there's nothing but nothing. He's just in a white room. I imagine that if we are in a simulation, God is in a white room, and the room, by the way, is infinite. Just like in the SpongeBob episode, the room is infinite, and he is just in the room, sitting on, I don't even know what he would be sitting on, but he would be sitting and looking at this crystal ball, which would be the known universe. And he designed it the way he did. So we have the same planets, the Milky Way, the known galaxies, the known universe itself as we know it. And he's just watching. And it was his little experiment to create a simulation of a universe. And he is now watching how it all plays out and trying to see if he can crack the code to make the perfect universe in the way that he wants to. It leans a lot into religious undertones, biblical undertones, the stories of, creationism. God made you in his image, right? I know it leans more into that, but that's the best example I can kind of give for what I think a simulation theory would be. While mind-blowing and a possibility, kind of boring. A little boring in my opinion. Now, there's a lot of theories going on out there of why we are here, humans. Why are we the way that we are? Why are we so smart, so social, so emotional? Why are we the way that we are, and no other animal on this planet is even remotely close to where we are? Was it a glitch in the Matrix? What I mean by that is a glitch in evolution where, for some reason, some way, shape, or form, when the world was forming in that soupy ocean that was before before any land had surfaced, before any real multicellular life emerged, did something happen in the soup, in the biological soup? Did something happen where a set of organisms advanced quicker than others did? And we just kind of arose from it while everyone else was kind of has fallen behind, like dinosaurs, sharks, and all that. They just fell behind in the terms of like intellectual evolution, brain evolution, getting smarter. I don't know. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. The only thing that was kind of fun was when the movie Prometheus came out. If you don't know what Prometheus is, it's a prequel to Alien, the Alien franchise, with the xenomorph and like them hunting down Sigourney Weaver and all that. Now, Ridley Scott decided to make a movie called Prometheus in that universe and make it like the origin, or one of the origins, of the xenomorph alien. And in that movie, really it dives into the theory, I guess the hypothesis of creationism, human life. And the human characters are like, they think that they found like evidence of like people or beings that were on Earth predating any known civilization and essentially creating us humans. That's why we're so different than any other biological being on the planet. And it was thought up pretty well. It was interesting. It definitely gets you to think like, this is totally horseshit and this is totally a movie plot. But plausible? Hypothetical? I mean, it definitely gets you thinking. You do kind of, your mind does wander. The intrigue is there. And I'll be honest, I'm like, this is a kind of a cool plot. Now, as far as that being a plot line in a movie franchise that's been about horror and surviving deadly aliens, and that kind of leading to not only the discovery of the creation of humanity, but also like the creation of the xenomorph alien. Was it necessary? Was it needed? Was it desired? Probably not by audiences. Now, Ridley Scott was probably like, this is fucking cool as shit. This is freaking high-level thinking here. I might as well be a theorist. Like, this is just so cool. I'll make this like the anchor to my alien films and my movies, and this is how it all began. Granted, it's a cool movie. I like Prometheus a lot. The way the movie begins when the engineers like drink this black goo that's like a biological life creator, and then he like essentially falls. I mean, he drinks it over a waterfall, and then the black goo kills the host, which is the engineer, the all-white dude. He's like a big, giant alien being that resembles humans, human likeness. And then he falls into the water, and then his body like just melts. And then those cells from all that, mix in with like the water and the ecology, and then bada bing, bada boom. Millions of years later, humans are there. And that's like the creation of humanity. Interesting to think about. Interesting to watch. Very, very entertaining to watch. Very entertaining. Is it true? As much as it would be fun to believe that it was, I think I doubt that. Some news occurred when I was away. Well, not away, but just during the week. That Star Wars show, The Acolyte, has been canceled after one season. Didn't watch a single episode. Didn't watch a single frame. Didn't watch any of it. I don't think that a cancellation of a show is a good thing, especially if I haven't seen it. Seeing the reception of that show online, though, I honestly don't know what to believe. I didn't see any of it. I heard a lot about it. Things I heard I didn't enjoy. Like almost like the rewriting of like history that happened in the in the world of Star Wars in the past and what was established, and some of it was abruptly changed from that show is strange. But then again, I never saw the show, so I can't really fully say that I'm glad that it was canceled. But I think with that show being canceled, it might be a good idea to do that. Not because, well, I mean, I'm always saying this because the show really like stirred up a lot of what's already a fractured and essentially obliterated fan base and did it even more. And I mean, when you have, let's just call it what it is, a business like Star Wars, a huge business that attracts a lot of fans, a lot of people coming into it. When you have a business like Star Wars that is so just like I said, obliterated already, you know, you don't want to destroy it even more than what it already is. I think that the concept of the Acolyte being in the High Republic is a very cool, very interesting concept. What occurred in it seems like baloney and kind of like not really believable, not really tying it. And I know it's not supposed to tie into any character, but I guess it's supposed to sort of tie into concepts and a timeline that kind of makes sense within the known galaxy of Star Wars. And if you kind of fail at that and you don't really, it doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, nobody cares for the characters, nobody cares for the dialogue, no one cares for the events. They're calling bullshit on this, that, and the other, that you don't know what's in your timeline. I mean, then what was the point then? What was the point? Like, did you just make it just to, because you had to make something? You had to make something that was new, original, and preferably that you wanted in a different time period. That way you can kind of diversify on like events and not really hold you back to things that are already established in that universe. Like, to me, like, I feel like with Disney, what they want to do is they want to do cool things. However, some of their cool things that they want to do contradict and conflict with things that have already happened, one in the past or in the future, wherever they decide to plot their show in the Star Wars timeline. Whether it be before the prequels, whether it be after the prequels, before the original trilogy, or after the original trilogy. There's always been something that I feel like comes up in the creative side where they are sort of hell-bent and handcuffed that they can't do what they want to do because of that. Now, there is a solution to this. You get writers that know, A, what's going on, what are my parameters, and also writers that actually care about the existing world, because you're essentially writing history. Even though it's totally makes no sense, right? You're writing a history book, and all that history, comes in A to B to C, point A to B, right? we can't make it so point A to point B doesn't make any sense when you're writing history. Because let's face it, it is a saga, it is a mythology, it is a world that is not even, it's like, it's a mythology. It's a science fiction, fantasy, space opera world that is essentially, has, been, dated, fictitiously, I'll admit, but like with a timeline and all that of what's occurred in events that shape that galaxy. So I feel like when people, the Acolyte, decides to take it 100 years before the events, or maybe 200 years, I can't remember, before the Phantom Menace even begins, and they're to give themselves some leeway. That way they can do whatever, essentially, whatever they want to make a TV show that is, one, good, two, can stand on its own, and three, not contradict with things that already exist in that universe. And from what I've heard, they failed at all three. I just don't understand, like, how that is so hard. What's so hard about that? I know you want to make it feel like it is Star Wars because it has a Star Wars brand on it, and you should. But also, I feel like that there's so many things that they could have done which they didn't do. And again, this is not me from watching it, but just hearing of what people were saying about it, that maybe the writers that you hire just weren't the right people for the job. I don't know. Seeing that it got canceled, I was like, well, I don't want to root for, and I'm not going to root for anything that's bad like that. It's not good. That means people lost their jobs. People are not going to be able to work on that anymore. Maybe they had ideas for season 2 to continue that. But also, it comes down to the leadership and the executives of what they see for those shows. Right now, creativity in Hollywood is at an all-time low. You've seen it with Marvel. Now, thank God Deadpool and Wolverine came out, because that was phenomenal. So it kind of gives you a little bit of life, a little bit of juice to that franchise. But with Star Wars, and you can say with Marvel as well, their TV shows, besides like for the MCU Loki, and besides for Star Wars Andor and Mandalorian, a lot of them are just one and done seasons of TV. And there really is like no continuation. There's no story that kind of expands, that can connect to one thing and another. There's no like true like long form of storytelling with characters and events that sound interesting enough to want to continue. It's like they just go for shock value, get the subscribers to your platform, and then dip. Hopefully you make some, the viewership tick up. Maybe you get a couple million subscribers, and then you cash in, and then that's it. One of the biggest disappointments that I had seen from that, and I've talked about it on this show many, many times, was Obi-Wan Kenobi. That show should have been the best like TV show, best Star Wars TV show, best Star Wars anything in the past 20 years. That should have been the best. That all the creativity and all the people that love that character of Obi-Wan should have been involved on that. And it really just seemed like they just did Ewan McGregor and the character dirty. Like they just kind of just didn't really care a whole lot about what was in that show. And then it came and it went, and then you're like, oh, it's like I didn't even need to watch it. Because it doesn't do anything, it doesn't change anything, it's nothing fresh. It doesn't help me redefine the character a little bit more. It doesn't really make me get inside the character any more than I had already thought. And that's about it. It's like almost like they're just a waste of time. And I think these executives and these people that make these TV shows and movies, when we say it's a waste of time, it should hurt them. It should really hurt them in the heart, because that means like what they put out is not good. And what they put out is not memorable. And the work is not there. And there's like no sense of accomplishment when nothing with what you put out is not received well. And listen, I just think that they should care about that, but they don't. They don't. All they care about is a profit and what it brings to their platform. Does it tick up with the subscribing number or subscription numbers? Yeah. All right, we're cool. That is to me how they see, think, and view that platform, streaming in general, I think. Because you don't really make a full profit. You don't really make a direct profit when you are on a streaming service. You're not buying a ticket to see the movie or the TV show. You're not buying anything. If you already have Disney Plus, you got it. Day one, it comes out. You're fine. For what, like Disney Plus is so expensive now. Like a $20 fee for a month now? I remember when it was like $7.99. Now it's more than doubled. It's just, and for what? Shows that suck? Shows that look awful? That are actually awful? That like look cheap? Pathetic? I mean, like, what do we that make no sense? That have a potential of just being one and done, and then what? That's it? No more? Yeah, so I mean, if the Acolyte gets canceled after one season, it really, there needs to be a shift in the creative process of these shows to make it so that people want to keep watching those shows. That way you keep your subscribers. Or that way you get more subscribers, because people will say this show is sick, get Disney Plus, get Netflix, whatever it's on, and, you know, it'll retain your subscribers and even gain more instead of losing and then gaining and then losing and gaining. I mean, that's just like taking win, loss. That's not a sustainable thing. That is that should be that is like somewhat now in the industry kind of looked at as an okay process with these companies. But then again, I'm not an executive. I'm not a boss like that. I'm not like a businessman. I mean, I'm just, there needs to be a little bit more consistent in the product that they're putting out. And that's why I think that the Acolyte was canceled. Is because like it's not meant to be sustained, and I think that the viewers saw it, the majority of people who watched it saw it and were like, I don't know. That's what I think. Last thing I'll talk about before I get on out of here is the news of Indiana Jones, the game that was being developed by Bethesda, which was announced as an Xbox exclusive months ago, maybe even a year ago, because Microsoft bought Bethesda, and they're like, now we're going to have all these games on Xbox Game Pass, and welcome to the family. I remember they put out like this trailer when they signed Activision and Blizzard. Welcome to the Xbox family. We are here. You are now part of history. That these games are coming to Xbox, and their new home will be Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. At Gamescom, they announced a trailer. They showed a trailer for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And I'm like, I'm an Indiana Jones fan. I'm ready to play this game. This is gonna be cool. Trailer looks pretty cool. Looks good, promising, decent. And then title screen comes on. Game comes out in December 2024 on Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. And then right below is what I hoped to never see. It said, oh wait, and by the way, Xbox Game Pass, Xbox, and Steam. And then coming to PlayStation 5 in spring of 2025. What was the point of all that, celebratory Xbox family of games? What was the point of all of that? If not even 2 years after you make that announcement that these games are going to be on Xbox, their new home is Xbox, welcoming to the Xbox family, that now they're going to be, at least this one is going to be on PlayStation as well. PlayStation outsells Xbox every single year. PlayStation outsells Xbox every year that it has ever existed. Even before Xbox was even a thing, it was outselling, well, maybe not Nintendo, but it was a force. Now, PlayStation is even a bigger force than it has ever been before, outselling Xbox and Microsoft. And they pretty much essentially just got a Game Pass. It's like PlayStation Plus, maybe 2 years ago they got it. Maybe even before that. I don't know. But it's pretty recent since they got a Game Pass. Why are they outselling them? If the PlayStation Game Pass is very relatively new, what was the driving force of why PlayStation was outselling Xbox every single year? The games that they have on PlayStation are better than the games on Xbox. If you have the best games, people will buy your console, and then people will buy your games. If you don't have good games exclusively on your platform, on your console, people will not buy it. That's why you always see Xbox champion Game Pass, Xbox championing Fire Stick, streaming, bullshit like that, where, yeah, you're going to have a lot of games, but a lot of stupid-looking games, a lot of games that a whole lot of effort is not put in to make them because, for one, you can stream it, so, there couldn't be a whole lot of effort put into that game. Consumers see that, and they're like, why the fuck would I buy something that you don't even care about? PlayStation cares. They clearly care. The games that they put out, and I can only speak for two that I played in the past year and a half that have been exclusives for PlayStation, Spider-Man 2 and God of War Ragnarok. Phenomenal games that I would spend hours playing, continuing to play. I played God of War Ragnarok, guys, I think it was 80 hours. 80 hours of God of War Ragnarok. I can just check right now just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure it was a lot of time playing that game. Give me one sec. This might be a little embarrassing, but you know what? I don't care. I truly don't care. I don't care at all because it was so much fun. Where is this at? I hate the app though. The app is kind of confusing to freaking navigate. God of War. Oh shit. There it is. Damn it. It won't show me my progress. Last time I checked though, I shit you not, it was 80 hours of game time. And I was like, I didn't give a fuck. I was just having fun because it was a phenomenal game that I didn't care. I bought a PlayStation to play that shit, man. There ain't nothing that you can tell me that people are going to be like, I got to buy an Xbox to play this. You don't now. You probably did for Indiana Jones, but you can just wait till next year and it'll be on your PlayStation. I mean, you'll be fine. This Xbox gaming, Microsoft gaming is imploding faster than I ever thought. Turns out the new golden age, which was like 2 years ago when people were hyped up for Xbox, has died so quickly because of business business adjusting the business to today's audiences. That is not true. Look at the numbers of sales of PlayStation. Look at the numbers of sales of their games that they put out that are exclusives that people love. And then look at your sales. It is not true. It doesn't make any sense. How is PlayStation's continuing to skyrocket in sales while Xbox can't even sell anything? How? I don't understand. They can't just be buying Xboxes to play Call of Duty, or they can't just be buying PlayStations to play Call of Duty. What is it that people are buying PlayStations to play? They're exclusives. God of War, like I said. Spider-Man, like I said. And now, you Microsoft, you have given another reason for people to not buy an Xbox. With Indiana Jones coming to PlayStation 5 in spring 2025, not even a year away from now, less than a year, you have given them another reason for consumers to not buy your console. And you can't tell me that Game Pass is making them foam at the mouth for games. You think that they're looking at that catalog and be like, oh boy, what to play today? What can I play from this shitty catalog? You will scroll down many tabs and find maybe one game to play, and you'll be like, hey, yo, Game Pass is fucking shit. Unsubscribe. Game Pass sure felt like a messiah when it was first announced, when it continued to put out. I'll admit, they had some good games on there. That changes from time to time. Changes monthly. So, once the games dry out, then what? What do we do? Game Pass kind of seems like a little bit of a bandage in terms of Microsoft's failing gaming division. And just put on Game Pass. Tell them about Game Pass. Games. Whether they be good or bad, or mediocre, or mid, whatever. Games. Just tell them that. Just tell them that we have games. Oh boy, they have games, all right. They ain't good, though. I mean, they ain't good. They're not good. Will they change? They better. They better change. I don't know if they will anytime soon, because that would admit defeat. Companies, like this, they don't like to admit defeat. They think that they're the kings of the world, that they're smarter, much, much smarter than you at everything. They know more than you. They think they know more. They don't. Never think that they Never think that they are better than you. They're not. You have the power. You have your wallet. You speak with your wallet. Unsubscribe from Game Pass. Don't buy an Xbox. Let them feel it that way. And then they have to readjust again. What are we doing wrong? I thought this was the way. People want to stream their games on Fire Sticks, right? No. Know your audience. Isn't that hard? Anyways, that's going to be it for me today, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.